Welcome to the Fundraising Leadership Podcast, where we engage in lively and thoughtful conversations about the nonprofit world. And today we're going to have a special episode where we have the entire fundraising team together. So we have Michelle Malloy-Dillon. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, Janice.
We have David Landjuli. Hey, David.
Hi. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi. And we have Margaret Katz-Can.
Hello.
Hey, Margaret. Hello. So we're here today. We don't get to always all be together because often we have guests on the podcast, but we're excited today to bring a concept to you that we think is important for fundraising leaders and also to demonstrate how to put it into practice.
Yeah, so we wanted to introduce the idea of a leadership stake, something that you can create to create an intentional or create an intention about an impact that you want to have for an experience you're having together. And this all comes from the work that the four of us have done with the Coactive Training Institute, comes from their leadership program. And it's actually based on a book called The Stake, The Making of Leaders by Henry Kimsey-House and David Skibbons. And it is something that really has changed the way I approach so many things that I do in my world and how the four of us work together at all times. So a stake, we were laughing earlier because it's kind of hard to explain in one sentence. So we're going to try, and then we're going to actually do a demonstration of it for you so that you can see how it's done.
Well, I'll explain the metaphor, and maybe then we can, talk about how it applies to leadership. And by the way, it's for any leader in any realm of leadership. If it's not just limited to fundraising leaders. So for those of you in the nonprofit world who are leading teams that are not fundraising teams, this might help you also. But when you think of a stake, it's like a stake in the ground that you might tie a rope to. And we'll extend the metaphor here in a moment, because I liked how it was explained to us, Janice, when we were going through leadership. But you could imagine that one end of the rope is tied to the stake and the other end is tied to your waist, and you kind of keeps you tethered to that stake. The rope does. And I think when it was explained to us, Janice, you could even imagine it like the four of us. You have a stake in the ground and you have a hole through the middle, and there's four ropes that we're all connected to, and we kind of walk around this stake, but we're always kind of tethered to it, almost like a maypole or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it gives you a lot of space to move. There's a lot, you can still have a lot of space to move, but yet if you go too far, then it sort of reminds you, like, wait a minute, am I still intentionally connected to what I'm doing here?
Yeah, I love that. And somebody explained to me a slightly different metaphor, which is the stake is the thing you hold on to when the wind is gale force and it wants to blow you away.
Right,
you just plant your hands on that stake, and you might be sideways, flying through the air, but you are holding on to that stake. So that, that's important within a project, a meeting, a kind of whatever you would create a stake for, because when you start getting blown away or when things start doing something unpredictable, which, does happen from time to time, it gives you something to come back to hold back onto.
Yeah, so we don't get too lost along the road and then end up somewhere we didn't intend to be. And there's sort of two aspects to a stake. There's like a way of being, like a way that you want to be during the experience together, and also the type of impact you want to have. There needs to be something where it's for the sake of something that might be greater than you as an individual.
I like you used a word before explaining the being and the impact, Michelle, which is like being intentional. It's kind of like an intention that a group creates together, but it's a bit stronger, right? A little bit stronger than an intention. That's why
it's
I
like
think
an
about
intention that creates an impact, I would say. It's often how I think about it. It's like, I'm going to show up. And, we were talking before too, like David said, you can use this in many realms at work, but also in your life, right? So if there's something in your family or your community or a volunteer position, that you've committed to doing. It's like, what do you want to bring to that? And for the sake of what, right? So you might say, like, I really want to bring a sense of enthusiasm, because if, let's imagine, you're on a board and it feels like there's a lot of stuckness or circling around, you might say, I'm going to bring a level of enthusiasm because I feel like that would be for the sake of actually getting us into momentum. We need to go somewhere, and my enthusiasm could help us go somewhere.
So a lot of folks get confused. I know I did when I was first introduced to this word being. So because we're so used to doing things as leaders, we often forget how we want to be in a situation or for a project. And so maybe we could just say a little bit more about the being. And in fact, Margaret and I are co-leading a 6-week course right now called Being a Mega Gifts Fundraiser. It's not about doing Mega Gifts fundraising. It's about who you are. Who do you have to be to? Sometimes that confuses people. What do you mean who I have to be? I just have to be myself. Well, yeah, that's somewhat true, but it's interesting how inauthentic people are when they're about doing something.
Well, we get sidetracked as human beings in what we're doing, like, because there's so much in our society that rewards us for what we accomplish and what we do, and we often forget about how we want that experience to be for ourselves, for the other people that we're with. And that's part of that being. It's like, what do you want your experience to feel like? How do you want the experience to be for you? And it's really that balance between being and doing that creates a life that feels like it's in balance, that feels like you're excited and energized by what you're doing, and you're also accomplishing things.
There's such a relationship in the creation of a stake between the being and these words intentional and impact. I think all of us have had the experience of having impact that we didn't intend to have. Having, again, a meeting, a project, a conversation go completely veer into a completely unexpected and what feels like an unmanageable direction. And I think, the idea with the stake is let's try to be intentional about the impact. Let's try to keep coming back to what our attention and intention was.
Yeah. And sometimes, that is provocative. You may want to bring an intention that things really need to be said, that things need to have a shakeup,
Right.
So it's
disruption in the space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like a stake can be scary, actually. Like, if you really commit, like, for the sake of something, that I'm going to be different than maybe I normally show up in this situation, that can seem scary, which is also why it's nice to have co-leaders, as we do, to do it with.
Well, yeah, the thing about creating a stake with a team that's co-created, even if it's just a team of two, is that you can remind each other. This is like the idea of when you get too far away from the stake, your co-leader, your team members can reel you in, like, this is why we're doing this. This is what we declared. And the other thing I wanted to say about it, it is a declaration. It's something you create with others, and you get to recreate it or change it if it no longer is serving the team or the project. So it's not, or you revisit it and you say, is this still serving us, given how things have unfolded? Yeah.
Well, and that's an important point. Like, a stake is temporary by design. It is an intention of an impact that you want to have for that situation. So it's different, sort of, some people especially in our coaching, like somebody might have like, I have a life's purpose, right? Or you work for an organization that has a mission. So that has a longer lifespan. This is really, I'm going to a meeting, we're having a team retreat. I have to have a challenging conversation with someone. It's like, it is time limited. Although stakes can, sometimes they're juicy enough that you can apply them to different situations. I mean, Michelle and Margaret did something recently, and Margaret, in telling me about a great stake, you inspired us to create a similar stake for something we were going to do. The metaphor got me all lit up. I was like, I want to do that too.
Well, let's share some examples. So I think it might be helpful because what the hell are these guys talking about is about what about 90% of the audience is saying right now. So I'm going to give the stake that Margaret and I co-created for our 6-week course. If some of you who are in that course, it's a big reveal for you now because we usually don't reveal the stake to the participants. This is really meant for the co-leaders, but we have in the past, and so I'm just going to reveal it now so you can get a sense of what this is like. So our stake for the 6-week Being a Mega Gifts fundraiser course is be creative ninjas for the sake of strengthening fundraisers. That's our stake. And how do you think we're doing, Margaret?
I think it's going pretty well. I mean, I think the idea was all of this content. We're not teaching people how to do fundraising. We are not recreating something that's been done before. So we are trying to take coaching tools that we are intuitively, we know these are going to make for better fundraisers, and we're trying to figure out how to deploy them in the sense of being fundraisers. And so every skill has taken wild creativity to keep tying it back to the fundraising. And David and I always have a little bit of goofy in our stakes because we want some playful. Often that is part of what we want to create, is something a little bit playful between.
And we've had to be creative ninjas in the moment during the first few weeks of the course because you have a bunch of different people and stuff comes up, and we tried some things that so far have turned out to be quite provocative, evocative, and quite interesting and helping with their learning. So that was part of being the ninja, being nimble, trying things.
Right. Being agile, being able to.
Agile. Yeah.
Well, you both are bringing up an important point because part of creating a stake is finding something that for you as a group or as co-leaders, whatever format it looks like, something that you feel like you want to glob onto. Like the ninja thing is really making you both smile right now. And I know that the stake Janice was referring to earlier that Margaret and I recently used for an all-day program that we did with another group was we are all an essential piece. Together we make a delicious pie. And, that made us be like, okay, we want to be part of this program. And every single participant in the program gets to be part of this delicious pie that we're creating here. We're all an essential piece. So there's something about when we design a stake, we know it's the stake when we all go, yeah, that's it. Yeah. And so we want to show you what it's like to actually actively create a stake because we're going to have a team retreat with the 4 of us coming up soon. And we have not yet designed our stake or our agenda, anything that we're going to do on this team retreat. We have a location and a date. That's all we've got set. And so the next step for us is to design our stake so we know where we're heading with this team retreat.
So something you said was very important, Michelle, that I want to highlight is that, well, a couple of things. We had a feeling, we had a sense that we wanted to come together. And we've had this sense for a while. And finally, it felt right at this time, this year, this fall. And the thing that you said that's very interesting that I want the audience to realize is the stake comes before the agenda, right? So we haven't, we're going to be together in a beautiful place in the mountains, and some doing is going to get done. We'll have some light agenda, I'm sure, but this is the first step, is to create how we want to be together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you
Yeah,
start
I want to
planning.
say something too, which is outcomes is not the same as a stake. And that was really
Yeah.
confusing for me at the beginning. I thought, I want a stake that, like, here's how we get from point A to point B, and the stake is where point B, that's where we're going. And that is actually not what the stake is. That's a much more doing. And in fact, when we put together a timeline, we have a stake. And then below that, we will usually list the outcomes.
Yeah. Very important point.
Yeah. And I would say for our retreat, like we've been talking about it for a long time. And like David said, there's connection, so this is where we start. Like, what are the words, right? So there's connection. We always want to have fun. I mean, that's one of our team values, is having fun. So that's in there. I feel like, I'll check in with all of you, but I also feel like we want space, like spaciousness. This is not like a time to, let's get together and hammer out the next 5 years plan, and
Right.
it's
This
like,
is not a strategic
meditate
planning.
and be in nature, and
This is
So
not a
there's kind of
strategic
that.
planning retreat.
Although some strategies may emerge.
There's also an aspect of like being together in a new way, because Janice and Margaret have never, ever met in physical form. So we get to be together in a new way.
Yeah. And there's something about when we're together, like just to see what bubbles up, right?
So I've been writing a few of the words down that have just been sort of bubbling up for all of us. We've got connection, fun, space, spaciousness, be together in a new way, what bubbles up, and hip check. So what's coming up? What might our stake be?
Are we going to be near water, Michelle, where we're staying?
Well, there's a river and there's hot springs.
Okay, so there's bubbles.
Yeah, there's bubbles for sure. Yeah, hot springs in the bubbles in the hot springs.
There's probably a shower too.
Yeah.
The person who just got back from backpacking. Is there a shower?
Yes, there's a shower in the condo. Yes.
Yeah. Well, hot springs. I mean, I just suddenly realized, like, I don't know much about the place that we're going, but yeah, there's something about, like, that's sort of like soaking it in that hot tub and like seeing what bubbles up. It feels like fun, but like what's the word? Like relaxing, but fun. And
So the word, maybe one way of being would be to be bubbly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Be bubbly. So when you're doing a stake, you want to get some way of being that captures a lot of these different words. I'm not sure if that's it, but that would be for me. That would incorporate fun and excitement and vivaciousness, spontaneity. Also, we do a lot of work with the disc profile, and we all have a lot of I in our styles, so that would honor our sort of bubbliness.
Yeah.
All eyes are bubbly.
No, they are.
Or at least we think we are.
Yeah. And there's something about just creativity or creating something, or like that we're just trusting that when we get together, the what's next for our team we're gonna know it. We're gonna know it when we see it. It's going to emerge.
Yeah.
So to me, there's something for the sake of letting what's next reveal it.
I like what David is saying. Like, if you're like when the hot spring is bubbling, and what you're saying, Margaret, bringing them together, it's like it doesn't have a preconceived idea of what that is supposed to create. It's just that's what it's doing, right?
Yeah.
In fact, sometimes there's
and it's
a
inviting.
lot of.
I mean,
go ahead, Janice. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, it's like when people see that bubble, they're like, I want to get in there. Yeah, I want to experience that.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're sort of like sitting in the hot springs or in the hot mud, and there's not many bubbles going on, but all of a sudden a bubble happens, and that's when like the what's next appears, right? There's some of that, like just letting things percolate, or just
And I just want to name, often when we are doing a stake for something that we're leading, we've been given some very specific outcomes.
Yes.
So this is a very different kind of stake that's beginning to emerge, but I'm naming that for listeners because that's the whole point, right? Like we want to create something where, well, for this particular retreat, what's emerging is we don't need to have a long list of outcomes or plans or things that have to come. That's what I'm hearing anyway. So I just want to kind of name.
Yeah, and I'm also hearing there is some curiosity for us about what's next. So, there is something there. And there's something about wanting this energy of bubbly, spacious, creative for the sake of what's next for us as a company and as a team. So I'm hearing curiosity about an outcome, but maybe it's not too super specific.
Well, I've written a trial balloon down, like be bubbly and spacious for what's next, something like that to bounce off. By the way, when you're doing this, folks in the audience, the invitation is just to throw stuff in the space and not judge it, not be attached to it. Like I'm not attached to that. Just something that was bubbling up for me in the moment.
Yeah, the best steak is like where you don't know where it came from. Like you couldn't remember, like, especially if it's a team, like that it feels like, where did that come from? It sort of emerged and everybody was like, can you read it again?
Be bubbly and spacious for what's next.
Yeah, I love that. And to me, there's possibly even it's like creating space for what emerges as next, like even like there's a trajectory of letting something reveal itself for us to create openness for that.
So something like be bubbly and spacious to create what's next. Is that what I heard? Or not so much?
Yeah, it's like when we sit together or come together, like we sit together and see what bubbles up. That's kind of where I am. It's like it's not quite there, but that's what I was getting at. It's like because we're going to be I don't know if I can sustain being bubbly for 3 whole days.
Well, there's enough introvert in some of us here that might be exhausting.
But I can commit to staying, which is another, a big piece of our leadership program, which is staying, sitting, being open, not being attached, and like,
Yeah, I think it's pretty clean. Sit together and see what bubbles up.
I love it. It feels solid. It feels maybe solid's not the metaphor. It feels right.
All right. There's definitely going to be some butt humor at the retreat.
Kindergarten humor.
Yeah. Scatological humor.
Well, I think the retreat has already begun. We're getting excited about being together.
Well, and that's, and so here's what I want to say. I love it. And yet that this is like Margaret said, this is a very different stake than if we had very specific outcomes, because this is about connecting and being open and just exploring being together and seeing what happens. But this is not a stake that would work for everything, but this is a stake that feels really nice for us.
Right. It would be a very different stake if we had been tasked with doing work on a team that's not thriving.
That's right.
That would be a wildly different stake.
100%.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So,
so where
Michelle,
is it? What is it again? Somebody read it to me.
Did you record it?
I have written down, and we can change this if we need it. When we sit together, we see what bubbles up. Yeah. That still feel right? Okay. We have a stake. Woohoo.
All right.
Yeah.
Is there more to add?
No, we always try to make a stake fairly short to just capture the essence of what we're after. There's been times when we've designed stakes where it gets really wordy, and it's actually hard to remember the stake if it's too wordy. So this feels short and to the point, and it feels like the essence of what we want to create together.
It's got, the image of, it has embedded in it creativity, sitting together for connection. When you sit together in a circle as we do, that's usually very spacious. And so I think it encompasses a lot of the initial words. It's just that you don't need to write out 3 sentences because you'll never remember them, but you can remember we sit together and see what bubbles up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also that is important too. Like there is a way in which every team is going to need something different, but because we have this shared experience of going to CTI leadership, we know what it means to sit together. We know what happens when we, sit together. There's a big trusting there, right? Whereas, again, like sometimes an intention has to be different or more clear. But as long as everybody can feel like, what does it mean to sit together? And for us, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think we should give credit. You just mentioned CTI, which is the Coactive Training Institute, and all 4 of us are graduates of the coaching curriculum there, as well as their leadership program and certification. So that is where this concept and training comes from.
Yeah. And their leadership program is going back in person this fall. So for anybody who's interested in a very powerful 10-month leadership program, look up the Coactive Training Institute.
Yeah.
They will be sitting together again after a long break. So
usually at the end of every podcast, we try to challenge our listeners to try something at home. So maybe the next time you have a difficult conversation, try to come up with a stake, right? What does anybody want to add to the assignment here?
Yeah, maybe we'll say I'm gonna make it more specific, Margaret. I'm gonna build on that. Find something this week that you're doing, and maybe you're preparing. You're like preparing an agenda. You're thinking about what you're gonna say, and take a step back and say, yeah, what if I bring an intention for the sake of something to the situation? So pick something you're doing with other people this week and create a stake, and then see what it adds or gives you.
Yeah, that's a good way to practice. Like, who do I want to be in this situation, and what impact do I want to have? If I were to shorthand it for the audience, like, think about something that's coming up this week and ask yourself, like, who do I want to be in this situation? Do I want to be peaceful? Do I want to be clear? These are ways of being, and for what impact? For the sake of what? Like, for the sake of moving this project forward, or for the sake of friendship, or whatever it is.
Team harmony, or
And we would encourage you to write it down and revisit it on occasion, or revisit it if it's at the beginning of a meeting you're having or whatever you're creating the stake for. Put it on the top of the agenda so that it's actually what you align yourself around before even beginning the meeting.
Now, if, as Emerald Lacassie would say, if you want to kick it up a notch, if you do this experiment and you see that it and we hope you will see that this has a positive effect in your outcome, even though you're not necessarily driving for a particular outcome, but you will see a good outcome when you do this kind of work, that you then bring it into a team meeting and create a stake around some project that you and your team are working on. It could be an event, like it could be a fundraising event. Could be anything, really.
It could even be your weekly team meetings that you have. You have a stake for those weekly meetings. Yeah. Lots of ideas here.
Yeah.
Be less boring. For the sake of, we get a lot of reports of people who don't feel like they're running great meetings for their teams. Yeah. So that is based on what other people tell me. I'm not judging.
Be less boring. That feels steak and a t-shirt all in one, Margaret.
Okay. So this podcast is brought to you by Fundraising Leadership. We provide unique coaching and training programs with stakes to grow nonprofit leaders. Please subscribe if you haven't already. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're enjoying the show, you can help us continue to bring thoughtful content with a one-time contribution. This supports our production costs and keeps the show ad-free. Contribute today using the link in the show notes, and you will receive one or more of our highly acclaimed courses. Now go put it into practice.